As we're heading into primary season, you think that they should probably have all of these election integrity issues already sewn up, but no, we got a couple right here. So Lehigh County finds numerous election code violations with ballot drop boxes. Huh. Upcoming court filings, a draft of which was reviewed by the Post-Millennial, to be filed in the Court of Common Pleas, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania Civil Division, will ask for an injunction against the county's Board of Elections from receiving and counting invalid and void ballots. The board was scheduled to begin accepting those ballots on Monday, May 2nd, in anticipation of the upcoming May 17th primary for a hotly contested midterm elections that may cost Democrat control of the House of Representatives. Yes, both chambers, in fact, but that's been well documented and opined by many people as well. Jack Posobiec broke down the story of potential ballot harvesting on Human Events Daily. The draft motion notes that Pennsylvania election code requires that mailed and absentee ballots must be returned either by mail or in person by the person to whom the ballot belongs. This injunction would prevent the board from counting ballots that were brought to drop boxes by the persons other than the voter who cast the ballot. Yeah, exactly, called ballot harvesting. Some states that's totally fine, that's on the up and up, and then in others, like Pennsylvania, that's not allowed. The law states, dyslexia, per the motion, with the exceptions of absentee voters who have a disability or who are overseas, all ballots must be delivered by the County Board of Elections either in person by the voter themselves or through the U.S. Postal Service. Ballots delivered by any other means and absentee mail-in voters who don't have a disability will not be accepted by the County Board of Elections. Absentee ballots delivered for voters who do not have a disability may be delivered by a third party who has written authorization from the disabled absentee. Absentee ballots delivered for the absentee voter who is overseas on election day may be made by an overseas delivery service. Similar motion was filed in March and denied, but this comes after an investigation by the district attorney's office revealed that they were indeed discrepancies. You don't say! This could have a major impact on voting practices in Lehigh County and the Board of Elections' ability to conduct free and fair elections free from fraud. So, that's what's happening in Pennsylvania. What's happening in Georgia? I touched on this, kind of, sort of. But there are some serious investigations going on in the great state of Georgia where everything was on the up and up, totally 100%, right, Raffensperger? Right? Subpoenas issued in Georgia ballot trafficking investigation. What do you mean there's a ballot trafficking investigation going on? I thought everything was all fine and 100% legal and on the up and up. Georgia election officials last week issued subpoenas to obtain identities of individuals and non-governmental organizations who may have engaged in crime of ballot trafficking. The offenses are alleged to have occurred in both the 2020 presidential election and the December 2020 U.S. Senate runoff election in Georgia. Recipients of the subpoenas are the election watchdog organization True the Vote, TTV, the group's founder Catherine Engelbrecht, and the research contractors that worked for a 15-month investigation into illegal vote trafficking in Georgia and a half dozen other swing states. We presented our data a year ago to Governor Kemp and the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. They covered it up for 7 months, alleged Engelbrecht in the April 30th television interview on Real America's Voice. The GBI told us that they had no jurisdiction. We gave our data to the FBI in Atlanta. No response for 7 months. That's totally not like the FBI at all whatsoever. I'm sure they still have an open investigation pending. We filed a full complaint with the Georgia Secretary of State in November of 2021. Let me guess. We heard nothing for 6 months. Oh, I'm shocked. Finally, we got the subpoenas. Now that everybody's up for election here real shortly, now it seems like they got some fire burning under their ass. January of 2022, Georgia Secretary of State Brad a Republican, sure, in name only, announced the investigation into TTV's allegations was underway. An investigative team from TTV used cell phone tracking, geofencing, and video footage to show that 242 mules collected thousands of absentee ballots from voters and made 5,668 stops at drop boxes in the metro Atlanta area in late 2020. Funny thing. The data is supplemented by statements from a whistleblower who has also shed light on the number of NGOs orchestrating and funding the unlawful effort. Ballot harvesting was outlawed in Georgia in 2019. Evidence provided by TTV is the basis of Dinesh D'Souza's new movie 2000 Mules, which is scheduled to debut the first week of May at theaters nationwide and on streaming services. Yeah. Dinesh makes a lot of high-quality documentaries. I'm sure you've probably heard of him before. He's quite well known in these circles. Ballot trafficking is an act of a third-party intermediary called a mule collecting an unlimited number of absentee ballots from voters and depositing them into ballot drop boxes for money. Ballot trafficking and ballot harvesting eliminate any documented chain of custody for the ballots, and the practice makes official oversight of the handling of the ballots impossible. The elections in Georgia figure prominently in D'Souza's latest documentary film, and the scope of the problem of ballot trafficking affects all of the battleground states. We just seen what happened in Pennsylvania as well, and we need not discuss in detail Wisconsin. All you need to do is just type in Wisconsin election integrity, and boy, do you get a list of results. In addition to the 242 mules uncovered in Georgia, Engelbrecht says that TTV has documented the actions of 202 mules in Maricopa County, Arizona. More than 100 in Milwaukee. Oh, there it is. And Wayne County, Michigan. 500 there, and 1,000 in Philadelphia. Wow, got them all, didn't you? TTV recently announced that at least 137,500 absentee ballots were cast through an unlawful vote trafficking throughout several of Wisconsin's largest cities in 2020 election. Greg Phillips, a cyber expert working for TTV, estimates that 4.8 million votes were trafficked nationally based on the studies conducted by his group in Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Michigan. The numbers are staggering. In a move to stay in power, officials use the states engaged in absolute subversion of the election process. I can't read the rest of that because YouTube's a fun place of open and free discussion. Engelbrecht believes politics may be playing a role in the recent issuing of the Georgia subpoenas. It wasn't until Trump held a rally in Georgia on March 27th that we saw some movement from the Georgia Board of Investigations. Yeah, fucking funny thing about that. The subpoenas were issued just weeks ahead of the May 24th primary, where Raffensperger is facing a stiff challenge from Republican Congressman Jody Hice, a vocal critic of Raffensperger's conducting the 2020 elections. I've heard the name Jody Hice before, and can't quite put my finger on it. Raffensperger provoked the ire of some Georgia Republicans when he administered the mailing out of the absentee ballot applications to every registered voter in the state of Georgia in 2020. No, that's not what drew the ire of the many people in Georgia, and rather nationally as well. It was all of his antics that happened after November, because boy, was that fun. What was that about? Illegally recording a phone call? Mail-in ballots. Oh yeah, bodes ill for Republicans. 159 million people voted in the 2020 presidential election. Yep, best turnout ever. 81 million people legally and lawfully voted for Joe Biden, the most popular president of all time. Okay, moving on. As of November 23rd, 2020, there were 26.6 million absentee ballots that were still outstanding. No, everybody voted. And their grandparents that reside in local cemeteries. Across the country, the percentage of mail-in ballots cast broke in favor of Democrats in 2020 by huge margins. Yeah, but what about the people who turned out in person? Those broke for huge margins in the favor of Republicans. So, for example, in Georgia, Biden got 65% of absentee votes to 34% for Trump. In Pennsylvania, Biden 76, Trump 23, 15.4 million or 87% of votes cast in California were cast sometime other than the traditional polling place. That's why we should have one fucking day for elections. But until that time comes, this is what we got. Through a process she calls lawfare, Engelbrecht said Democrat-dominated states have steadily worked to change state election laws in order to dramatically increase the use of mail-in voting, even prior to the pandemic. Yeah, it's always been on the back burner, but that was the perfect time to just explode the policy nationwide. She voiced her displeasure with incumbent Republicans seeking re-election. Yep, all of them. All of them suck. All of them should be gone, but nobody decided to step up to the plate that was really worthy of taking over. I'm presiding over the upcoming midterm elections in Georgia, including Kemp, Raffensperger, and Attorney General Chris Carr. don't really have an opinion on them. They have publicly torched our data, and they have done whatever they could to delegitimize our work. Alleged Engelbrecht States official has tried to intimidate our contractors by warning them that there may be no more state contracts. Either fix 2020 or we have no hope for 2022, she added. And that is the fucking goddamn truth. Because as a wise man with a nice fucking bushy mustache once said, it doesn't matter who casts the votes, it matters who counts the votes. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.